Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 10 of the Giro d'Italia 2025. Before we get in today's stage, I got a request out there. We need some donations because we have the Cascade Cycling Classic for June 14th. Guys, I am not a race promoter. I have to be a race promoter because there's no races in Central Oregon. So the Horner Cycling Foundation is putting on the Cascade Cycling Classic Criterium. And for all of the junior kids, it's free entry fee. If you're coming with multiple riders of 3 or more, there's a $500 stipend for you guys. And we can possibly find you some housing if you hurry up and contact Molly here at the foundation. She should be able to find some housing for you with the $500 stipend. And of course, free entry fee. If you're a junior kid, come on down and do the Cascade Cycling Classic Criterium, because if you're junior, it's also the Oregon State Championships for OBRA. So why not make a trip over here to Bend, Oregon for June 14th? And if you can help out with some donations, that'd be fantastic. All of the money will go to the racers to put on the Cycling Classic. Now, if you don't have the ability to help out with donations, that's okay, but come cheer on at the Cycling Classic, or better yet, contact Molly, because we need some volunteers for the race pronto. That'd help us out a ton too. So volunteers, donation, or come and do the bike race like I already talked about, especially if you're a juniors. But we do have a pro men's and pro women's field that'll start June 14th too, and highlight the finish of that day of racing, exciting racing here in downtown Bend. Now, let's get into today's Giro stage, because stage 10 is the time trial. And when we're talking about the individual time trial at 28.6 kilometers long, just under 18 miles, we know that when we look at the general classification, Primoz Roglic, after stage 9 Strade Bianche course, had some mishaps there, lost some time to multiple riders on UAE team members. So we see Isaac Del Toro, the Mexican rider, wearing the pink jersey for the first time for Mexico, and his teammate Ayuso sitting second. Still in front of Primoz Roglic. When we're looking at the top 10, we have 2 more UAE Team Emirates riders, because Adam Yates is there and Brandon McNulty's in the top 10. So Primoz Roglic has to start going to work here at the Giro d'Italia, because he's 2 minutes and 25 seconds back of the general classification favorite, Isaac Del Toro, and Juan Ayuso. That's just a minute back and a little bit more time on Del Toro, his teammate. So Primoz Roglic has to start chipping away some time, especially on the 2 UAE Team Emirates riders. Now, when we look at today's course and we start seeing the hot seat, we got Ethan Hayter crossing the line, 40 seconds up on the fastest time for a best time of 32:40 at this moment. With Ethan Hayter's time up there, we're going to start seeing the next top quality rider. It's Daan Hoole and Daan Hoole's Lidl Trek. They won multiple stages with Mads Pedersen, 3 of them, and they've been putting on a show here at the Giro d'Italia. When we start looking at Daan Hoole's time back there coming through the first time check at 6 seconds faster than the time to Ethan Hayter, we know Daan Hoole's flying up on the course. He'll come through the second time check up on time, and then he's coming out of the last corner with the Leaning Tower of Pisa hanging out there, as we see Daan Hoole coming down the finishing straightaway with his tongue hanging out. He'll cross the line for the fastest time of the day, 10 seconds faster than the time of Ethan Hayter, with a time of 32:30 right now to put himself in the hot seat for stage 10 of the Giro d'Italia. We start looking at some next of the big GC or time trial favorites, we're going to see, of course, that we got Josh Tarling out there for Ineos. Josh Tarling's flying as he's coming up to the first time check, 17 seconds faster than Daan Hoole's time. When he comes out of these next corners, look how the Ineos rider in his national championship jersey is flying through the left corner. Coming up on the back wheel, Mikel Honore from EF Education. We see right now that Josh Tarling's 100% motivated, but maybe too motivated, as he's coming up the right side between the back wheel of Honore and the curb there. As he's coming right up, you got to wonder, as you're sitting on the Chesterfield, is he going to crash or not? Mikel Honore looks back and sees him there, and he moves over to the left, and then Josh Tarling lost a little speed but gets back on the accelerator. As we see Josh Tarling come up to the second time check, he's 4 seconds back now of Daan Hoole. Josh Tarling still throwing everything into it as he's coming out of the final corners. He'll cross the line here in second place for 7 seconds slower than the time of Daan Hoole, who's sitting in the hot seat. Now we start seeing Jay Vine out here. Jay Vine, UAE Team Emirates, as he's flying on the course. he's going to immediately have a mechanical problem and have to do a bike switch with his mechanic and with his director sportif, give him a push at the back of the bike there as we see Jay Vine come through the line 37 seconds back. Now with that in mind, we're going to start moving fast forward. I'm going to bring you all the way up to Primož Roglic. Why am I bringing you up to the Slovenian? Because this is the GC battle starting here at stage 10 of the Giro, and Primož Roglic has to put on a show. But if I back you all the way up before the race even began, Primož Roglic had crashed while he was reconning the course. That's his second crash in 3 days' time. So the Slovenian, when we see him up on the ramp, we have no idea what kind of fitness he's going to have, but we know he's got to start delivering blows. The UAE team Emirates right now. So have the two crashes caught up to the Slovenian rider? Well, we don't know the answer yet, but as we see Primož Roglic leave the ramp, the course right now is still dry for the Slovenian, but it's getting spotty out there for multiple riders as a little bit of sprinkles have come into play, but Primož Roglic is looking fine right now on the pedals. We see him come up to the first time check, 30 seconds back from the time of Daan Hoole. Now you got to start to worry, guys. If I back up the film and we start looking at some of the other favorites that left just before Primož Roglic, when we're talking about our Ensman, his time was 28 seconds. Tom Pidcock's time at that first time check, 29 seconds. We look at Storr's time check, it's 28 seconds at that first time check. So when you see 30 seconds right now to the Slovenian Primož Roglic, you got to start to worry, is his form dropping right now or have the conditions changed? Now, it has been a stormy day. Like I told you, Primož Roglic crashed before the stage started and it was wet and miserable, and they were predicting rain for the final riders finishing out here in the top 10, but Primož Roglic has had okay conditions. So you got to ask yourself at this moment, has the rain just not fully come down on Primož Roglic, but the storm has started to come in and that's slowed his time right now? Well, we start looking at the riders after Primož coming through their first time check. It's Adam Yates at 38 seconds, followed by McNulty at 1 minute. Now, when you see 1 minute from Brandon McNulty from UAE Team Emirates and you go back to that 30 seconds there of Primož Roglic, you got to start asking yourself, maybe the wind conditions have changed, right? Well, we start looking at some more times from Carapaz at 51 seconds. And if I back it up to Ciccone at 1 minute and 3, now Primož Roglic is looking okay. But the problem happens when we start looking down and we see that it's Ayuso out on the course. As soon as we see the Spanish rider flying, he's got about a 7-second disadvantage to Daan Hoole, which would mean, of course, he's got to be up on Primož Roglic at this moment. Ayuso's throwing everything into the corners as we see him come into this right hairpin. He's coming in hot and he's going to come out slow. But Ayuso's throwing down on the pedals, and when he comes through the first time check, he's behind Primož Roglic by 8 seconds. The crucial point here is Primož Roglic is up on all of the GC favorites between himself and Ayuso, as Ayuso's 8 seconds back. But the Spanish rider has not given in yet. And we start seeing his next time check at 16 kilometers to go. He's even with the Slovenian. We go into 11 kilometers to go, and Ayuso shows a positive time of 22 seconds up on Roglic as he's going through the switchbacks after he dropped through the tunnel, the only descent here on stage 10. But we see that it goes from 22 seconds and immediately it drops back down to 15 seconds. So you don't know what to believe at this moment. But when he comes through the second time check with 8 kilometers to go in today's stage 10, we see Ayuso's up by 12 seconds on the Slovenian Primož Roglic. When Ayuso's coming out of the last bend here where the Leaning Tower of Pisa is highlighting the finish here in Tuscany, Pisa, as we see Ayuso sprinting down the finish line, he's going to start losing time to Primož Roglic, and he crosses the line 1 minute and 34 seconds back. That means Primož Roglic has been ahead of so far on everyone in the top 10 of the general classification. And when we go back to the pink jersey that's left the ramp a long time ago but looked beautiful while dropping down the ramp in the pink jersey for Mexico, we see him flying through the corners but being cautious the whole time in the race leader's pink jersey. When he comes up to his first time check, that means he's 34 seconds back from Primož Roglic from Bora Hansgrohe. We come into the second time check for Del Toro. He's 1 minute and 24 seconds back from Daan Hoole, so that means he's just about a minute time back from Primož Roglic. As he's coming under 1 kilometer to go, we start seeing Daan Hoole get excited because he knows he's going to win today's stage 10 of the Giro for Lidl Trek to grab another stage victory here for the Trek team. Now we come into 700 meters to go. At this moment, Primož Roglic knows he's putting time on everyone in the top 10 of the general classification as the time's going even, but 700 meters has still got a pedal there for Isaac Del Toro if he wants to minimize the damage to Primož Roglic and his teammate Ayuso. Del Toro comes out of the next corner careful, and as he sprints down the finish line, he'll cross with a time of 2 minutes and 22 seconds. That means he lost 1 minute and 7 seconds to Primož Roglic and 48 seconds to Ayuso, but Del Toro holds the pink jersey. Now, we got to get into the difficult details and tactics of what's going to happen here at the Giro d'Italia after we see Isaac Del Toro still wearing pink, Ayuso still second place of the general classification at 25 seconds. Then we see Tibieri and Simon Yates, followed by Primož Roglic, who's moved up to 5th on the general classification at 1 minute and 18 seconds back from first place. The biggest winner of today's stage has to be Primož Roglic if you're not counting Daan Hoole from Lidl Trek. But when we're talking general classification, Primož Roglic going from 10th up to 5th and gaining a massive amount of time. We're talking over a minute at a time on Del Toro's finishing stage here after stage 10. So right now, Primož Roglic has minimized the damage of that flat tire and that crash of stage 9 of Strade Bianche and has moved himself into a reasonable position now that anyone who believes Primož Roglic, and I believe Primož Roglic is the best rider in this race here at the Giro d'Italia, if you believe he's the best, then at 1 minute and 18 seconds, you got to know this is a doable time because we have not even reached the mountains. Okay, the closest thing I can think of when I back up the Grand Tours of the last few seasons, I want to bring in that this Giro d'Italia looks something like the 22 Tour de France, where it was Visma-Lease bike, then Jumbo-Visma battling against Tadej Pogačar. Jonas Vingegaard and Primož Roglic looked close to the fitness of Tadej Pogačar at the 22 Tour de France. Ayuso, Del Toro looked close to the fitness of Primož Roglic here with Bora Hansgrohe at the Giro d'Italia. But Primož Roglic looks stronger of the two. I take you into the Tour de France. I believe Tadej Pogačar in the 22 Tour de France was stronger than the two, but made tactical mistakes. Now we start looking at other comparisons. Tadej Pogačar's UAE Team Emirates at the 22 Tour de France was not very strong, and nuts and bolts were falling off his team throughout that whole 22 Tour de France. When we look at Bora Hansgrohe, you could say almost the same thing. Jai Hindley crashed and disappeared early here at the Giro d'Italia. Danny Martinez has crashed and has been limping his way so far through any of the mountain stage. Jan Tratnik has been hurting, and the only real climber left on Bora Hansgrohe when the road starts to go up has to be Pellizzari for Primož Roglic. So we start comparing the Tour de France of 22 and the 25 Giro d'Italia. Primož Roglic's Bora team looks much like UAE did in 2022, where they had the best rider in the race, but nuts and bolts were falling off the whole time. We start looking over at UAE Team Emirates right now. They look a lot like Jumbo-Visma did at the 22 Tour de France, where they have two strong guys, but there's about second and third strongest in the race. If you look at it so far on paper without the big mountain stages coming yet, they look about the same way, which means what? It means UAE Team Emirates tactically have to do everything spot on. Because if you take the Slovenian, Primož Roglic, into the final climbs and you try to light up the race at the final climb, Primož Roglic, if he truly is the best climber in the Giro at this moment, which I believe he is, he's going to drop everyone and chip all that time back, if not take it back on the first big mountain stage of 16 of the Giro d'Italia. So UAE Team Emirates right now, after stage 10, have 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 to try to find ways tactically to get around and gain time on Primož Roglic and Bora Hansgrohe. That means tomorrow, stage 11 of the Giro is going to be magnificent start. That everyone in the race needs to know there's blood in the water. They know UAE Team Emirates want a break to go up the road, and they know they want a rider from their team in that break, so the attack should be fast and furious throughout the whole stage. And Bora Hansgrohe may have to control the whole race when we're talking about tomorrow's stage 11. You get into 12, it's one for the sprinters. You get back into 13, it's another stage for UAE Team Emirates to try to get away from Primož Roglic of Bora Hansgrohe. every stage that's lumpy and bumpy is a stage that's more ideal for UAE team members because they still have 4 guys in the top 10. And Primož Roglic does not have a complete, strong, 100% team backing him up at this moment. When Danny Martinez could be hurt and Jan Tratton having his knee all taped up, Pellizzari is the only rider left that can go deep for Primož Roglic. So UAE team members have to rely on tactics right now. They have to be aggressive, but aggressive at the right moments. Don't blow your teammates up. Don't have them going deep. You need multiple riders. If you have Adam Yates or you have Brandon McNulty in a big break, you don't want them in a break of 6. You want them in a break that's big, that's going up the road. And hopefully they have a Jay Vine with them. Hopefully they have a Rafa Micah in that front group. Maybe an Igor Arieta, so those riders can help look after McNulty and Adam Yates deep into the stage and get them further along so that there's no chance of Bora Hansgrohe wrapping up those guys and then they're getting dropped on the final bumps, lumpy bumps when we're talking about stages of 11, 13, and 15. They need to make up time on Primož Roglic, or if the Slovenian does have good legs, like I believe he does after we watch the individual time trial here, where if we dissect his ride, he went careful through all the corners. Primož Roglic rode a safe race today. Ayuso hung it out there. Hung it out through all the corners on today's stage 10. So you know he threw the maximum. Del Toro rode smart. He rode conservative. When we watch his interview, he said he was scared through the corners and basically had his feet up to be careful. And then he said it was difficult to hold his bike upright. Later on, he said tactics amongst the team, they're going to have to decide when they're out on the road. Those tactics better be correct and they better be aggressive against Bora Hansgrohe. Like and subscribe, guys. There's blood in the water. The Peloton will know it. They're going to be attacking like crazy in tomorrow's stage 11. So like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys for the next Butterfly Effect real soon.